Don't tell me that part, sorry.
Okay, I've got 6:30. I will call to order the Monday, March 15th meeting of the Darlington Community School District Board of Education. Before we start this meeting, we'd like to hold a moment of silence in remembrance of Aaron Lancaster. Okay, Teresa, do you acknowledge public notice?
Yes.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Jackson, Oriole, Bronco,
Yes.
Christ,
Yes.
Hermanson,
Here.
Rickers,
Here.
Schilling,
Here.
Siggenthaler here, Williams here, Wolf,
Here.
Zuber Bueller.
Here.
Item 3 is call for special appearance. Do we have anyone present, or have we heard from anyone who'd like to address the board?
No, sir.
All right, item 4 is adoption of the agenda.
So,
Second. Motion by Rickers, second by Hermanson to adopt the agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 5 is approval of minutes from our meeting on March 1st.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Schilling, second by Williams to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 6, by email, Bob, RJ, and Matt reviewed and audited the bills for payment. Those listed in board book.
Motion to approve.
second.
Motion by Schilling, second by Rickers to approve the bills for payment. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 7, donations. 7A, First National Bank employees would like to donate $175 to the DEM Student Learning Activity Account for the Rosie Bags program in honor of Kindness for Carson.
Motion to approve and thank them.
Second.
Motion by Schilling, second by Brunko to approve that donation with our thanks. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 7B, Kindness for Carson would like to donate socks to the sophomore class.
Motion to approve and thank them.
Second.
Motion by Schilling, second by Brunko to approve with our thanks. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 8, discussion and action on requests from neighboring school districts to pick up open enrolled students.
We have two students currently living on the edge of our district who spent the first part of this year in Belmont School District. Due to circumstances beyond their control, they were kind of forced to move into our district, housing reasons. School district of Belmont would like permission to drive one of their buses into our district boundaries and pick these two students up for the remainder of this year only. In order, for the kids to have consistency and finish the year with their same teachers, the same class. They're not going to make this request again next year. If those students are still here, they'd start fresh on September 1st here. They're not allowed by DPI to drive a bus into a neighboring district unless the board gives permission.
Or they could open enroll and provide their own transportation, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Motion.
The
Motion
open
to approve.
enrolling is the easy part for them to do. The question is the transportation.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Schilling, second by Williams to approve that request. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 9, discussion and action regarding building use request for youth football.
Yeah, youth football, it's an odd year, the way everything worked out with timing of sports and different things. The youth football is just starting now. I kind of turn this over to Pat to talk about this facilities use request.
So what they're requesting is use of, I guess what I call the freshman practice field, so down by the white shed to the goal post. That's about 60-yard stretch. Plan is they're gonna practice there after school for about 3 weeks. And then when junior high track starts, they're gonna move that to like a 4:45 start so that, number one, we're not interfering with track kids and football kids, but also giving those kids opportunities to compete and practice in both. And then they're also requesting use of the game field. Talking with, Ryan Guiley, who's kind of heading it up. I requested we move those games back, as far as we can to give the ground time to dry up and everything. And obviously we talked about the fact that if there is inclement weather or something where, it might severely damage the field, we'll have to postpone the game until it dries up. But that's basically their facility use request. It's no different than what they've done in the past. This being a little bit different, obviously, because it's in the spring, so we just are going to be paying close attention to, weather and any issues like that that might cause damage.
Motion to approve.
Second. I don't see any reason not to use it.
Motion by Bronco, second by Chris to approve that request. Any discussion?
I don't know if this would be the time for the discussion of it, but normally when the youth football would use the game field, it would be already have paint and stripes and lines and everything on it. So I don't know if part of the request is to have someone from the school do that striping on it, because it's not done now. And if you guys want to approve that to be done as part of this request, or just
Approve it to be done.
We can
Or Jay.
include, that's fine. We can include it. Red has I'm sure since we've moved it back, they hadn't talked about it, and there's ways of accommodating too with if there's any outstanding costs. But the expectation would be if they use within the motion that the field be prepared or able to play a game on.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that was Bronco's motion. Chris, you're fine with the change?
Yes.
Any further discussion?
Is this to allow youth football only when conditions are suitable? Or what?
They'll make, Teresa, it's the same thing that we've done forever. You know, if they're scheduled to play on a Friday, but on Thursday we get 3 inches of rain, they're not going to play. You know, I think with the adjustment, and Pat's made arrangements, it sounds like, with Guiley to start it a little later. So, you know, that'll become as a mutual agreement.
Okay, that the games will be allowed as agreed upon by the youth football leaders and
School district,
AD.
the AD, yes.
All right, any further discussion? See none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Item 10, referendum presentation by the district administrator.
Yeah, I made a video a couple of meetings ago that we showed. It was 5 or 6 minutes long. It's on the web page now for anyone that's interested in it. Thought it would be a good idea to make one shorter that was more appropriate for putting out on Facebook. People don't like 6-minute, Facebook videos. So this is kind of the condensed version of that other one. If you see this and you're okay with it, then tomorrow we'll put it out on Facebook. And the last thing in this says that if you want more information, you want to see the longer video, you can go to the webpage and get that.
All right, I can't hear that.
Here in Darlington. My name's Cale Jackson. I'm the district administrator here in Darlington. I would appreciate about 90 seconds of your time here to share some information with you about the upcoming vote on April 6th. The school board has approved a referendum question for the ballot that day. Probably the most efficient way to explain the request is to say that we're asking to continue what's currently in place with no increase for the next 5 years. The current referendum, which is set to expire at the end of this school year, provided for an additional $1.9 million to be added to the school's revenue limit. The question on April 6th will seek approval to continue that same revenue limit exemption for another 5 years. By far, the most common question I get is, what will this do to my taxes? Because we get the majority of our revenue from the state and not from local property taxes, the passage of this referendum, continuing things as they are with no increase, will almost certainly result in a decreasing tax rate. The school district tax rate for the last 3 years has dropped from 12.45 to 11.96 to 11.30. And if this referendum passes the way it's proposed, I fully expect that decreasing trend to continue. For more information, you can contact me here at the school, 776-2006, or if you'd like to visit the school website, I have posted a little bit longer video on there that explains things in more detail. Thank you.
Looks good. Thank you. Okay, so we'll put that out tomorrow on Facebook.
Hello, my name's Cale Jackson. I'm the district administrator here in Darlington.
You're not
Thank you for
done
taking
yet.
the
It was so good, we wanted to hear it again. It seemed like your face was a little dark. Is that
That's just the projector.
just the
Yeah.
lighting in here?
Yeah, it's good on my screen. It's just.
Standing bed.
Mhm.
Could use a little makeup, but it looked pretty good.
I won't say anything about the no tie casual look, but that's okay.
All right, we'll move on to item 11 then, discussion and action regarding COVID-19 updates.
Yeah, we got a few things under the COVID update here. I don't know that these are in any particular order, but the first thing that we want to talk about was spring sports guidelines. Spring sports coming up, I think they're outside more. Obviously, we're going to follow all the laws and rules and state mandates that we're told to, and WIA, I'm sure is going to have some guidelines. The question for this would be for the board, is there anything that you consider to be a must, that whether the state or the WIA tells us anything that you want in place or not, or you just want us to follow the rules that we get from those other people?
I guess I would ask Pat, you know, you obviously work with these other schools. What are they requesting? I mean, I guess some of this stuff I believe is kind of, it's follow the leader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, so I'll tell you briefly what I got from the WIA. They just released their spring guidelines. They are going to require masks for spectators at all events, and they're going to require for coaches to be wearing masks and any non-participating athlete. So if you are out playing baseball, you don't have to wear the mask. If you're on the bench, you do. And that's, you know, they got all kinds of stuff. So as a conference, we met a couple weeks ago, and I'll be honest, they wanted to come up with conference guidelines like we did in the fall and we did in the winter. I said, absolutely not. I said, we've tried this twice. Every time we've come up with these rules, everyone's taken them back to their boards and everything is just different. So I said it was a waste of time for us to even bother with that. What my recommendation would be is, you know, we request that people who attend social distance and wear masks per WIA guidelines. In terms of our athletes, you know, I would request that we also follow WIA guidelines of coaches wear them. And when you're not participating, you know, you would wear them. But, you know, I think that's what you're going to see a lot of people doing, is just sticking to the WIA guidelines. That's what most of the local schools have talked about already. In terms of limiting spectators, I'll be honest, our spring sports, you know, generally don't draw as big a crowds. You know, we don't charge admission for those anyway. So I don't really see it as one of those where we should try to now limit spectators for some of these. That's kind of where I'm at, is follow the WIA guidelines as presented, honestly, because you kind of got to. I mean, they can take away your ability to participate in any kind of postseason. So they kind of got you there, but that's really where the conference is leaning, and that's where my suggestion is going to be as well.
Yeah, that was going to be my only question, Pat, was as if the conference was going to come up with something unique or try to standardize it. So that's good. I think WIA is restrictive enough. So, you know, and follow it. So I'm comfortable with that.
Agreed.
Do you want any action to signify that there's consensus there, or are we good? Just
We're good with it. I mean, if you are.
No, I'm good.
seems like
We're here, just make a motion, then you got it.
motion by Schilling to follow the WIA guidelines for spring sports.
Absolutely.
Second.
Hermanson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes.
Second thing is an update that I created a list, a spreadsheet of all the COVID restrictions that we could think of in DIMS and the high school and then overall the district. I sent that spreadsheet to the county health director, Julie. She looked it over and she said that currently everything she sees on there is required and recommended, but that periodically she and I can get together and talk and see if, as we go on here, if any of it may be able to be tweaked over time. Next thing on here is a truancy and academic progress update. Lori's gonna take DIMS and Tom's gonna talk about the high school. So whichever one of you wants to go first. Tom? high school?
Sure. So after change of the semester, Aaron kind of wanted to get the police department back involved. We have that ordinance where you can start citing kids for truancy. I talked to Lindsay, Chris today, and since we've been doing that, attendance has improved quite a bit. So basically, when the kid gets to 10 or whatever absences, she emails me and then I forward that on to Chief King. And he's made a couple rounds and that pretty much put an end to kids that were truant. So it's really kind of nipped that in the bud, and I think that's a good thing to continue with. As far as academic progress goes, I think the last time that she presented on that was a couple months ago. The list of kids on that has been cut by more than half. So again, we're seeing a lot of improvements with that. I think a lot of that's probably because we have kids back in the building and a little more consistency with things. We're going to start a couple other things that we've done in the past, limiting access on Chromebooks for kids that are on the concerns list. Try to tighten that up. But it's kind of heading back to where it was, a year or 2 years ago at this time. So looking a lot better.
Thank you.
Do we anticipate, I know when we talked about the summer school and Cal brought up about a more robust summer school, and that's usually orientated toward Dems. Do we see the need for any of our high schoolers at this time, or is it too early to tell? Or
it's probably a little too early to tell. I know that we do have one senior that we're a little concerned credit-wise that will most likely have to come in and do some credit recovery, but that's just one kid that I can.
Okay. Thank you.
Ready for me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. In regard to the truancy, we're doing pretty much the same thing in our building. I have reached out to Chief King and I've had some families cited as well. I'm doing, the warning letter, and then when we get to being over the amount, then we're calling the police. In regard to grades, I have about 12 students that are in the failing range for grades right now, failing a course or more. So we implemented homework club, which is helping. We have homework club Monday and Wednesday night with approximately 5 to 6 students in each grade from 3rd through 8th grade. So that is helping. And we're just working with the kids, trying to get them caught up on things.
Okay, good. Thank you. Next item on the list here, 8th graders using the weight room. Pat, you know probably more than I do about that.
Yeah, so kind of last summer when we opened up the high school, initially it was, we were going to just let high schoolers use the facilities. And that was, I think, just honestly, we didn't really know as what we know now. And we just kind of stuck with that. But we've had a lot of parents of 8th graders, especially asking, is there a way we can get their students back into the weight room? They want to get in there and work out and lift. So now that the wrestling room has been tore down and the 2 weight rooms have been put back together, we feel like we can, there's enough room to space out high schoolers and 8th graders so that they won't be, on top of each other. We feel like we have enough room to safely bring them back in. Like I said, we've been getting a lot of requests. So we would keep them, in separate groups, just like we normally do, but we're just looking to get your okay to start bringing them back in. Like I said, we've just been holding out since last summer because kind of keeping status quo was working, but now we think we're at a point where we can safely do it. So that's what we're looking to do.
Thank you. And the last thing on here, all kinds of high school activities coming up this time of the year. NHS induction ceremony, FFA banquet, graduation, prom, post-prom, senior banquet. And this is up to you guys to decide what level of involvement you want to have in this. We could go one at a time and you could hear about the best plan that we have right now. And make a decision if you feel comfortable moving forward with it, or if you're okay with it, you could just give us the authority to work with the county health director and make a decision on each of these things as we go. If there's a couple of them to talk about more than the others, I think it might be post-prom. It's kind of been a question about that, using the DIMS building when we haven't opened it up yet too much to outside people. This would be parents and a lot of high school kids. I personally think it would be a good idea to do in this particular case after the prom. They're gonna go somewhere where I think we'd be better off having them here than anywhere else. The people that I've talked to briefly about this, it's the parents are being in charge of it. I don't know that they would use this building, even if they had access to it. They may choose to go somewhere else, but I'd like to at least offer it to them. And then the senior banquet is on a boat in Iowa. Cruise the river, eat, walk around on the deck and see things. So that's, not that that's any more dangerous than anything else, just a little different, activity. So those are the two things that stand out to me as if we were going to have any discussion.
I think if you work in conjunction with the county health and then prior to approval, just inform us, I'm comfortable with that process.
Me too.
And then, would you agree, RJ, like, he can just email us, it doesn't have to be before a meeting or anything, right? Or on an agenda, just email us?
Right, and I think Cal's a pretty good gauge if any of us are pitching hissy fits about anything to put it on an agenda.
We wouldn't do that.
Well, Joe, I'll talk to you afterwards and explain it.
No, I said, RJ, is that a motion?
Is this needs to be a motion? If you
Might as well, we're here.
Okay, yeah, I would leave it up and allow it, make the motion that administration work in conjunction with the county health department to execute these programs and events and keep and notify and keep the board informed, leaving it open to any discussion or action needed.
Okay, motion by Bronco, second by Schilling, to do what RJ said. I guess the only thing I would add to that is we may not have time, if we don't like what they present to us, we may not have time to have a meeting and change things before. Some of these things I assume are coming up fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
agree.
but
I'm fine with whatever they come up with. I mean, they're gonna know the best.
That's why we're paying them the big bucks.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
But as long as we have prior knowledge, though, maybe we can't act on it, and it's an after.
Well, that's fine. I just want an email, just so we know what's going on if I get a phone call why we're doing something. That's all I'm after.
Exactly.
All right, any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Can I get action on in the weight room?
Sure. So Pat's asking for a motion for the 8th graders in the weight room thing, and
I'll make a motion to allow the 8th graders.
Second.
motion by Hermanson, second by Chris, to allow 8th graders in the weight room as discussed. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. On youth basketball?
Yeah, youth basketball, the way things sit right now, the board approved and have been doing practicing on weekends. Lee coordinated with the coaches, a really strict schedule of cleaning and times in and out and things, and it's been going great. Now the request from them is to play games against other schools on weekends. And the one rule that we had was parents didn't come in. They dropped the kid off and they didn't even come in the building at all, watch practice or anything. So the request would be able to play games and have 2 spectators per kid from both teams. I think they'd pull out both bleachers and you'd be very spread out, but I don't know, Lee, if you have an opinion on that?
I think just like we've done before, if we do what the county health department recommends us, if they're good with it, then we'll make it work. The coaches have been good about sanitizing and using the chemicals, so I have no complaints to what they're doing.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Chris, second by Rickers to approve youth basketball to use the Dunn's gym for games, allowing up to 2 parents per kid.
How many games are we talking?
I don't know. I didn't ask that.
RJ, a lot of the season's already over.
That's what I was thinking. So.
Yeah, there's a couple like with Leary's team and our team. I think there's just maybe 1 or 2 games. I think Pecatonic, they're all local schools that want to come play.
Okay. Because you guys are done, what, in April?
April 4th is our last tournament.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, any other COVID update things, questions? All right, we'll move on then to item 12, discussion regarding Herb Cole Award winner.
This is the best agenda item that we've had on here in a long time. There's a girl at the high school named Annie Canales that got a Herb Cole scholarship for $10,000 just recently. She's going to be using it to go to Southwest Tech College. So congratulations to her. That's just fantastic.
Item 13, discussion and action regarding changing banks.
Yeah, our bank that we've used for a long time is no longer in town, closed a branch, and it's caused some issues, not having a local branch here. So we checked into things with our local banks, and we're going to recommend that we switch to First National. Pending successful implementation of their new system, they're in the process of testing, putting in a new system that would work fine for us. If that all works out, they'll be ready to go sooner, but we would not want to switch until July 1st with the timing of the fiscal year changeover.
Motion to approve is recommended by administration.
Second.
Motion by Bronco, second by Hermanson to approve changing banks on July 1st. They're discussed. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Any opposed? I'll abstain from that vote. Motion passes. Item 14, Superintendent, Principals, Activities Director, and Building and Grounds report.
I just have 2 things. Number 1, anybody watching this, vote April 6th, mark your calendar. And number 2, we need to schedule a meet and confer committee meeting, if we can do that, please.
How soon did you want to do
that? Nothing on there is super time sensitive.
Oh.
Oh, that's what I call it.
I didn't know what you're talking about.
Sorry.
Assuming that's negotiations.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not negotiating. We got a Building and Grounds on the 24th. Do it after that.
Definitely.
What time's that one on the 24th for building and grounds?
6
o'clock, okay.
$7 o'clock, 6:30. That's a big one.
Maybe so.
You'd be better off to do it before the building grounds, unless, that's a big meeting, right, Lee?
Present the projects to you guys.
Yeah,
as long as you want to make it, I guess.
Right.
We can do a different night. I just threw it out there.
Or do you want to move building and grounds to 6:30 and do that one at 6?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Yeah, does that work for you, Lee?
Okay, so negotiations at 6, Building and Grounds at 6:30.
6:30.
What's the date on that for negotiations?
That's
The 24th.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kale. Lori?
I already shared about homework club and that's going well. We had 4K registration last Monday night, March 8th. We only had 26 kids register at the time, but we still have calls of people needing to register still coming in. Last year with COVID, we had people still registering almost after the end of the school year. So I know that we will have more. We will begin map testing in DEMS the week of March 21st. So that's coming up. And then the forward exam window opens March 22nd. I might have taken Tom's stuff he was going to present there. I think we're going to look at testing a little bit later, though. The window runs from March 22nd to May 14th. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Lori. Tom?
Last week we did ACT testing, which moved to an online format this year for those that wanted to do it. I opted to do it because that's the way it's going to be going anyway. I thought it went really, really well. No technology issues. Everybody got tested except for 2 kids that were gone, so I will be getting them made up this week. Other than that, access testing is going. Aspire testing will be coming up after that. Maps testing, forward testing, AP testing. I think that's the end of the testing. So, plenty of testing. But otherwise, things are going okay.
Thanks, Tom. Lee?
Just 2 things. I got a couple things to finish up that building grounds list, that meeting on Wednesday. Go over potential projects for next summer. And then the Bobcat will be finally traded in next week. That has been back ordered because of COVID related issues with the industry being behind.
Thanks, Lee. Pat?
First off, we had a couple of boy basketball players that got state recognition. Carter Lancaster was voted first team All-State. Hayden Rankin was voted honorable mention. So I want to congratulate those 2 on that honor. The other thing is with spring sports being a little bit later this year, about a month and a half later, WIA has given each spring sport additional contact days. So if you drive by the high school and see what you think is a practice, just know that it is a WIA sanctioned contact day. We are not starting early or anything. Those are completely voluntary for kids. I know from the track program, we're going to just do some light workouts, to try and get kids into shape so you're not pulling muscles with that first meet right out of the gate. So we will start to see a lot of that. I know a lot of the teams are going to be starting here next week in hopes that it warms up a little bit and they can get outside and do things like that. But other than that, we're kind of in a lull.
Thanks, Pat. That brings us to item 15, executive session items, including discussion action regarding student transfer to an alternative school. That's appropriate for executive session under Wisconsin statute 19.85, parent 1, parent C.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second. Motion by Rickers, second by Hermanson to go into closed session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. I'm going to end the